Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Today's video is going to be about talking about the pros and cons of owning two cars. And in front of me is my Lexus IS that I'm filming right now. And I'm filming from the interior of my car that I use for Uber, the Toyota Corolla. And I'll just put in a couple exterior photos of the cars so you could get a better look at them. Okay, so let's just go straight to me discussing the pros and cons of owning two vehicles. We'll go to the pros, and this is no particular order. It's not like from least to best or anything like that. I'm just listing 3 pros and 3 cons. And so I'm going to start off with the first pros, and that is basically when you have two cars, you know, you're kind of splitting the annual mileage that you normally would if you just had one car. Now, what I mean by that is, like, you know, you take all of these things, you factor them in, you know, going to work, going to the grocery store, going to school or whatever, you know, all of that adds mileage to your car. And not that adding mileage is a terrible thing. You know, cars are meant to be driven. A car is happiest when it's driven, not just sitting in the driveway, not being driven. But what I mean by that is that if you have two cars, you kind of have a variety. You could alternate. So you could take one day, you could take the car to to school or to work or whatever, and that there's just the option of having a second vehicle that you could take and alternate with. And you know, if you do that every other day, you know, you're putting half the mileage that you would on your cars compared to if you just had one car that you had to drive solely, you know, to wherever it is you're going. So, you know, just as an example, I drive for Uber, but there was a time when during the pandemic in 2020 where I just didn't drive for Uber at all because of the, you know, you would get sick, and, you know, that was pre-vaccinations and all that. But so I didn't use the car for Uber, the Toyota Corolla. So at that time, when I was on unemployment, like so many Americans were, I was able to, you know, take the car to, you know, to the grocery store to visit my sisters. I live in San Diego, and so they live in about like 20 minutes away from me. And so I would, like, whenever I would see them, I would alternate cars, you know, and it basically what it did was, just by owning two cars, I'm not putting as many miles on it in comparison to if I just have one car. And so options, that's basically what it is. The options of having two cars, and because you have the options, because you're alternating, you know, you're not putting as many miles on each one compared to just, you know, putting all the miles on one car. So we're going to get to the second pros, which is like something that I think is very important, because if you had to get your car repaired, you know how difficult that could be if you take it to your mechanic and they say, look, we need about 3 days, however long it's going to take to repair this car. And so what do you do in the 3 or 4 days, or however long it takes to repair the car? You don't have a car anymore. If you have to go to work, you have to go to school, however long that shop has your car, you're going to have to depend on Uber, take the bus, public transportation, ask a friend to take you to work, a family member. And so it's actually quite nice to have a car that needs to be repaired, and you have that backup plan. So an example of that would be, so my other car is a 2018 Toyota Corolla. At that time, this was around like 2020, I think it was, they were doing a recall for the gas pump, or fuel pump, should I say. And they had another safety recall for the the airbags. So I went to my local Toyota dealership where I got the car, and they told me it's going to take a couple days. So during that couple days, I only had my 2008 Lexus IS 250. And so at that time, I didn't need to depend on Uber. I didn't need to, you know, take the bus or ask a friend or a family member to take me to work. You know, I just had the Lexus right there, and yeah, it was convenient. You know, I was able to still get around when my other car, the 2018 Corolla, was being repaired. So that's a very good pros right there. Now, I mentioned two so far, so we're going to get to the third one. And this one is more specifically relatable to me because, as I said, I do for the 2018 Toyota Corolla, I use that to drive for rideshare, Uber and Lyft, but mostly Uber. So what is the third pros? Okay, well, what it is basically is that one car could be used for a specific reason. So in my particular case, this might not be the case with some of you that do own two cars. Maybe for some of you that own two cars, maybe it truly is both of those are your daily drivers that you could switch and alternate. But in my case, it's a little bit different. Now, I thankfully, with my main job, I don't work very far from where I work, from where I live. So I take the Lexus for that. You know, I'm not putting a ton of miles on my Lexus, thankfully. And in fact, to be honest, I probably put less than 10,000 miles on my Lexus. Now, the other car, the one I do use for rideshare, Uber and Lyft, the 2018 Corolla, well, that gets a little bit more miles than what the average American drives. And I actually looked this up. The average American drives, if I remember correctly, it's around 14,000 miles a year. I drive for Uber, and you know, if you drive for Uber, if you're an Uber driver, Lyft driver, or whatever, you know you put a lot of mileage on your car. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. Now, for me, I already have a full-time job. I do not do Uber full-time, so thank goodness for that, because if I did, I would be putting at least 60. This is true. Full-time drivers for Uber, they do put at least 60,000 miles on their car. You know, they drive more than 40 hours a week, which is kind of crazy. But I only do my Uber driving for about maybe 10, 12 hours a week. So it's a very, you know, I truly am a part-time driver when it comes to rideshare. I put about 18,000 miles on my, 18,000 miles a year on my 2018 Toyota Corolla. So yes, it is going to be above average of the 14,000 that I mentioned of what Americans put on their car per year. That doesn't really bother me that much because I mostly use the Corolla for rideshare. And the thing about rideshare is that if I feel like I am driving too much, you know, there's a freedom to rideshare. You don't have to drive, you know what I mean? In my case, I already have a full-time job. I don't depend on Uber, but it's good extra money. But regardless, even if you're doing it part-time for Uber, you're going to be putting a lot of miles on your car. And so the good thing about having two cars is that, yes, one car is specifically for Uber, one car is for only my personal mileage. As I mentioned before, I put less than 10,000 miles on my Lexus per year, and I put approximately in the range of 18,000 miles on the Uber car. If you put those together, if I just had that one car where it was my personal and my business car, well, just add those two numbers. 18,000 miles, and let's say I just drive 10,000 miles for personal usage, that's 28,000 miles a year. So it's good to have two cars to be able to kind of like have that in control and, you know, not put too many mileage on one car. And so that's it with the pros. Now we're going to move on with the cons. No particular order, here are the cons. I'm just going to get straight to it. The big one is going to be just basic costs of owning two cars. What do you have to worry about when you have a car? Your car insurance. You have to worry about registering the car every year, and sometimes every other year, depending on how old the car is. You have to get smog checks for that. So that all costs money. And so what I just mentioned was basically just the car insurance and the registration. One other big thing is car maintenance. You know, tires are definitely not cheap. You know, when you get oil changes, depending on your mechanic, you might get a good deal. You could probably, you know, get an oil change for $40. My mechanic charges $44 for me, and he's a very good guy. He not only changes the oil for me, but he also checks all the fluids as well, and makes sure those are all, you know, filled up and whatnot. But anyways, yeah, maintenance, okay, that's basically basic maintenance. What about major repairs, okay? All cars are going to break down at some point. I don't care if you have a Toyota or a Lexus. I have a 2018 Toyota Corolla and a 2008 Lexus IS 250. Those are both rock solid cars. Toyota, man, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to get a used car or any car, Toyota will last you a long time. And as a matter of fact, I had a 2004 Toyota Corolla that lasted me, up to 300,000 miles. And, I had to, it was really falling apart interior wise. The engine was okay, but I basically just donated that because, it was getting really high. It was 300,000 plus miles. I forget how much it was exactly, but I think it might have been around 325 or something. But anyways, maintenance, I already mentioned that. Repairs. Okay, so, you need new tires on your Corolla. That's going to cost $500 or so at Costco. Lexus IS 250, they're stagnant setups, so meaning the tires in the back are larger than the ones in the front because it's a sports car. It's a luxury sports sedan. That's going to cost you up to $1,000. Or if you have a good, I love Costco, by the way, because a lot of times they'll remove the cost of a tire, so you only pay for 3 if you have a Costco membership. So definitely, I would recommend checking Costco out, if you need to get your tires replaced or worked on. So you have to worry about, you have to cross your fingers that both of your cars don't have major repairs that will cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. I do know that with my Lexus IS 250 at 120,000 miles, I'm at 126,000 now. I did have to change the water pump, and I'm not going to tell you how much that cost exactly, but it was more than $1,000, but it was not quite $2,000, okay? But that's stuff that when you drive a car a lot, things are going to break down in it. It's not going to last forever. Toyotas, they last a long time if you maintain them, and you're going to have to cost money to maintain them. So that's a big thing, is the cost of having to deal with the maintenance and repairs of 2 cars. So the second cons would be depreciation of your car. If you are someone who, let's say you have 2 cars, but you have a car note on both of them, well, the moment you drive that off the lot, it's going to depreciate in value. And if you end up underwater on your loan on 2 of those cars, well, then I guess you're pretty much screwed, right? But in my case, I fully own my 2008 Lexus IS 250. I have the pink slip. I'm proud to say that is my car. Now, when it comes to the 2018 Corolla, I put around $11,000 down as a down payment. I'm never going to be underwater on that car loan. I owe about like 40, I think it's like, not 40, sorry. I owe about 4,500 left on the car. So guess what? The way, in late 2021, in fact, as I'm filming this, car values have skyrocketed. And I even had a Toyota dealership tell me, we're willing to buy your car for $15,000. So think about that. I could profit $10,000 by selling my 2018 Toyota Corolla. But even if the prices of cars were not so skyrocketing high, I'm not going to be underwater on the loan on that car. And so I don't really have to worry so much about depreciation about that. But it's still something to consider, Your car will, every day that you use it, the moment you drive it off the lot, regardless if it's more so if it's a brand new car, especially if it's a brand new car, is going to depreciate in value once you drive it off the lot. And some used cars do retain their value. One thing I like about Lexus is that they retain their value. They're very luxurious cars, and they're like rock solid, and they just, I will say that about, I don't want to brag about, I don't want to feel like I'm bragging, but the Lexus is definitely a different feel than the 2018 Corolla. I feel like I have way more authority in the Lexus, I guess, but I don't have 2 cars. I don't have a Lexus to make myself feel better about myself. If you're going to get a car to feel better about yourself, then that's something you need to work on, I guess. But so cons, again, this is going to be the last thing, is going to be depending on where you live, house, apartment, whatever, duplex, wherever you live, 2 cars, they're going to take up space. And so this is kind of specific to me as well. It could be specific to you, depending if you own 2 cars and you're facing this situation. But it's less convenient in terms of like the parking situation. Now, in the apartment complex I live in, we only get 1 space, 1 car. And then if you have a second car, like I do, you have to park outside in the street. Well, I alternate when I park my which cars I park in the garage. But you know, I live in a part of San Diego where it's very, very tough to find parking, especially at nighttime. If you live in San Diego, you'll know what I'm talking about. The name of the neighborhood is North Park, and it gets very, very crowded there. You know, if you if you're arriving home from work, say like around 6 p.m., you might get lucky and find a spot, but after 7/8 p.m., you're going to be circling around the neighborhood like a madman trying to look for parking. And so it's not convenient in that, you know, in this particular situation, or maybe in your particular situation as well. So what I'd have to do is I have to really strategically, in the beginning of this video, you saw that my 2008, I'm sorry, Lexus IS250 was parked in the front. It was directly in front of me. And the reason why I do that is that when I get home later, and if there's no parking at all, I will run out to the Lexus, move it a little bit, take my 2018 Corolla and move it to the spot where the Lexus was. And so yeah, that's kind of an inconvenience. It's the inconvenience of you know, having to worry about the space of where you're going to put the car and whatnot, and that's pretty much it. That's one of the more smaller cons, actually. It's more as I said, more of an inconvenience versus something that truly is problematic. But yes, that is my video today about owning two cars, the pros and the cons. And I want to know if you own two cars. In the comment section below, tell me which cars you own. You can let me know which car that is your favorite car and what you use the cars for. And that's pretty much it. I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching my channel. If you are subscribed, thank you for your support. And if you are not subscribed, please feel free to do so. I'm not going to make you subscribe, that's your choice, but you know, it would help the channel a lot if you did. Hit the like button, and that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video, and take care, God bless, ta-ta.